Are we truly alone in the universe? Years ago, I saw some bizarre lights in the sky, and my curiosity was piqued. This led me down a rabbit hole to discover who these visitors might be and where they might come from. On my journey, I found out that many other people were having these direct encounters with beings from other dimensions, and that I too could communicate with them directly. All right, Lyssa, how are you? It's been a minute.
Yes, I'm just trying to remember when the last time it was. Maybe it was when we had tacos.
Yeah, we haven't caught up in a while. No, in Japan. We saw each other in Japan last fall.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Yeah, you invited me and I came. I wasn't feeling that well, but I came to your channeling event, and it was mostly, if I remember, Jermaine going through a lot of the galactic lineage stuff.
Yes. Yeah. That was Jermaine for sure for that work.
That was awesome. You've been busy with doing guest spots here and there. I saw you just did a guest spot with Akira.
Yes, I did.
Here in Japan, or he was in Japan. You're in the States. We're kind of doing what we're doing. And you've also been you were at Rob's channel panel. You've been doing other conferences, and you're getting ready to do our conference in Shasta coming up in August next month. So very soon, almost. A month away. We're almost a month.
Yeah, that's right.
So, so tell us about all that. Tell us about what's been going on in Lyssa's life.
Oh my God, I don't even know where to start. Well, the channel panel in January was fantastic. It was honestly one of the best conferences I've ever done. I know it's a lot of work for organizers, but from the speaker point of view, we were so well taken care of, and the group was fantastic. There was so much love and excitement, and it really felt like these days in conferences, it's different than it was in the past. It's almost like everyone's been let out of a cage and we're all like celebrating being together. That was really what I felt in January, and it was so beautiful. It was just a fantastic experience.
Awesome. Well, Rob will be with us at the Lemurian Life Expo, so hopefully we can bring back that same type of energy. That was our goal last year when we did the Lemurian Life Expo. So I think a lot of people had a good time and connecting, celebrating in a sense. I think that's what it is. It's a celebration, a gathering of like minds to recognize that we're not alone, and we have beings and energies just on the other side of the veil and making those connections. So I think when we recognize them, they recognize us, especially when we gather in mass like that. And when we're all in sync, that I've noticed the energy. I wasn't able to attend Rob's conference because I was in the middle of a move and still getting settled. But yeah, for sure, last year at the Lemurian Life Expo, there was a coherence that we had that I hadn't had at other conferences. And usually in small groups, right? We can do it in a small sense, but on a bigger sense, sometimes it's hard to get that coherence with all the different ideas and people and thinking, and which is good to have a lot of variety, but there's a lack of coherence that comes with variety sometimes.
That's a really good word, coherence, because I think I've been noticing that within the last year. I've done a couple of conferences and I did a retreat in Japan, a contact retreat. And what I've been noticing is more coherence in the contact work I've been doing with strangers, quote unquote, because in the past it used to be part of what Sasha, the Pleiadian I channel, part of what she would always say is building a group to learn coherence with the same group. And then I would find, like in the 90s, if I would go to a conference and try to do contact work there, it was like energetic chaos. There was no coherence. But the contact work I've done in the last year, even with very large groups, has had this high level of coherence, which has been astounding to me and rewarding beyond how I can express it, that we are, as a collective consciousness, getting to that place now. So that, I think that's why, you know, the conferences are much more exciting now than they were 20, 30 years ago, which was a little bit of chaos.
Well, there's still some chaotic ones out there, but
Yeah. Okay, well, maybe I'm staying away from them.
yeah, we'll just try to avoid those. But I think, well, it's laying the groundwork, which you've been doing the contact work for so long, and explaining the vocabulary and the stuff I've learned from you, and explaining it to my audience, as far as, you know, what we're doing in these contact sessions. You know, we are, in a sense, making a coherent field for contact to happen, and having the vocabulary, I think, for people to understand what that is. And I'm noticing in Japan, because I've been doing some contact work sessions here, and going to your work, I always reference your work. In fact, the first one I did, we played your meditation, and it really helps people get on the same page, because there's so many ideas of what contact work is, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but why don't you tell us in a short, quick summary, what is contact work for the newbies people?
Oh my God. You know, the definition of that has changed for me and evolved since the early days. Because in the early days, it used to be opening ourselves up to the universe and calling them in. There was still like the idea of separation between our realities. But as the decades have gone by now, especially the last 10 years, I would say, we've gone beyond that idea of going and sitting in the chair and waiting for something to happen out there. It's been a much deeper experience now, at least with my groups, where when Sasha is leading it, she's taking them on a journey, in a sense, into the hologram, and recognizing all the fractals of the hologram are representing all of these different so-called separate beings, which are really just a projection from the one, basically. So I'm seeing that leap in awareness in the groups now, and also a lack of resistance to that truth, which is really amazing. Because before, and I don't know if it's just that I'm attracting different energies now, but before, there were people that would just come to see the UFO. And so they could not really go into themselves and experience this profound journey into the universe inwardly. So to give a definition then for the newbies, I realize I wandered off from that, is now, these days, I'm looking at contact work as a way to open ourselves up to universal consciousness in whatever way it may show up for us. So it could be seeing things in the sky, because we still definitely have that happening. It could be direct contact one-on-one through meditation. It could be seeing things on the ground. It could be this profound journey, which I've heard people talk about, that is almost like a drug trip without the drugs, where they go through this experience of looking through all these different windows of consciousness, seeing all the different life, connecting with it, and feeling themselves connected in such a way that it alters their consciousness that carries into their daily life. So that's kind of how I'm seeing contact work now. I still like the cool stuff when it happens, of course. I think we all do.
For sure.
It's a much deeper and expansive definition these days, I think.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, from being in your sessions, and first attended Greer in his sessions back in the day, and the big difference that I notice is, well, obviously having the channeling aspects is super cool. But, you know, I think with Ron and his work, and you guys have combined this, really taking people on a shamanic journey, it's doing shamanic work with medicine or without medicine. For me, it is almost the same type of experience.
I'm so happy to hear you say that, because actually that kind of started to happen in those retreats where you started to come, whether it was in Japan or in Arizona. And it took this turn into kind of shamanic experiences actually when Sasha and Hamon started to help people understand their own shadows and the importance of processing the shadow energy, which of course then leads to inner alchemy, which is what shamanism is all about, that inner alchemy, bringing together the poles. So who would have thought that contact work could actually be a shamanic journey? Well, the ETs knew it, but we're a little slow to the party, I think.
And that's probably, what the shamans were doing anyways, and back in the day, they were just helping us make contact with different versions of ourselves, or separated versions, maybe not in the terminology that we're using as, Palladians or, Syrians or these types of things, but, rejoining fractalized versions of ourselves through that we've had traumas with and these types of things. So just bringing that together in this journey.
Yeah, exactly. And therefore, to answer the question, why do contact work? It's almost like asking, why evolve your consciousness? I mean, the answer is in that question, because when you're doing the contact work in a sincere and open way, it is evolving your consciousness, and it is bringing those poles together within ourselves, which little by little, one by one, that energy spreads out to everyone else, and of course into the collective consciousness. And then that helps maybe the more resistant parts of our collective loosen up a little bit and open a little bit more into the unknown.
Awesome. And I've asked you this before in prior interviews, but I know things constantly evolve. You do a lot of work here in Japan, where I'm at right now, and I'm doing some of that work now, and I'm seeing the differences, I think, that you experience when you're working with Japanese clients or a Japanese group compared to a group in Japan. So I think I've asked you what those differences, but I know it's evolving. So what's evolving with your work in the States, and what's as opposed to the work with Japanese people, and how do you see those two? Is there a connection, and how's that evolving?
That's a really interesting question, because a lot of this is separated into post-pandemic and pre-pandemic times.
Yes.
So that 5-year period, we in Arizona were doing contact retreats, but in general, I was not traveling and stuff, and I was not in Japan. So there was a period of time where there was a stepping back and maybe a reset. And now I'm starting to see the reset. So in terms of the US, I mentioned this before about the feeling of being able to maintain the coherence during contact work in a much different way than I've seen in the previous times. I mean, back in the 90s, we were trying to use technology, like the brainwave goggles and stuff like that, to try to create a field of coherence for the group. But it was really hard. And we just had to keep going and keep going. And as consciousness evolved, I started to see the change. So now, at least in my small sample size of the contact work I've done in the last year or two with Americans or in America, the notice has been that increased coherence. Okay, so now we go to Japan, and in November last year, I was bummed you couldn't be there. I think your wife had the art show.
Yeah.
And you were not able to come. Yeah. we did a contact retreat on this remote island called Amami Oshima, which is like between mainland Japan and Okinawa. So it's really out there in the Pacific. And it was the first time we went to that island, so I had no idea what was going to happen. And our resort was right on the beach, and we were the only ones filling it. So we had the beach, pure use, just us at night. So that's where we did our contact work, was out on the beach at night. And there was a very different energy at this particular retreat. But for viewers that haven't been to Japan, coherence is easier in Japan. It's just part of their culture. So if the coherence is easier in Japan, then imagine when that is leveled up. So what I felt at that retreat in Amami Oshima in November was this heightened coherence. And all I can do is kind of use myself as a barometer. And that weekend, I was feeling an energy I had never felt before, that I can only give the example that maybe it must be like what it's like in an ET reality. There was this high feeling of love, which I'm talking like on a frequency level, not "I love you, man" kind of love. Sure. Although that was there also, yeah. But Japanese don't show it in the same way as we loud Westerners do. So the energy was super, super intense and focused in this frequency that stayed present during the whole weekend. But what really topped it off was we had a man there, actually an American guy who's married to a Japanese woman, and they live in Tokyo. And he was one of my channeling graduates. So he came to the retreat, and he brought with him some experimental equipment. I know I told you a little bit about this, Reuben, in private messages, but he brought some equipment. First time he'd ever used it, it was a camera that he had retrofitted in the US that specifically is for infrared night work. That's perfect for contact work.
Right.
So he left the camera running during the whole evening. We had contact work on the beach, and we had phenomenal things happening that came in that showed up on the film. The problem is, I'm not a techie, he's not a techie, and the people I've asked, like Reuben, you're maybe the top techie that I know, and you didn't know. So what we didn't know was if some of what we were seeing was a response to the sensors on cell phones. With the name. Yeah. So, but there was a lot of very obvious energy coming to the group that was showing up as pink, which is how the energy shows up with that specific camera. But we had other things happen during that, like when you're talking about coherence, one of the symptoms, let's say, of coherence is intense synchronicity, right?
Right. Yep.
So we were doing this ceremony on the beach. This is another thing, going back to the whole shamanistic and stuff with contact. This is a new thing for me when I'm channeling, maybe in the last 10 years. We were doing the ceremony on the beach. So I'm channeling Sasha, and Sasha says, "And now we begin the ceremony." And the moment she said that, the beach illuminated in this tremendous bright light to the point where you could see your shadow on the sand.
Wow.
And it was a meteor.
Okay. Yeah.
That went by. We don't know if it's a meteor or not, but the synchronicity was spot on. So to us, it was just basically saying you're in the flow.
Yeah.
Okay, long answer to your question, but I'm seeing the same increase of coherence in Japan and the US. Japan was, because they already have a coherent field, it was a little bit more dense. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean that that the energy was thicker and more fluid, more quantum, let's say, in Japan, I think because already they had that coherence.
Yeah, for sure. In Japan, I'm feeling and seeing a level of synchronicities. It's interesting you said that with the coherence, especially in my town. It's just every day I'm blown away by the level of people and the synchronicities. And for example, just Saturday was this crazy day of coherence. I was messaging friends, had no idea they were in town, and just saying, "Hey, what's going on?" And then go to a restaurant, and then there they are, and then or text, or not even text, or go to another place and asking for another friend, and turns out he's no longer working there. But then he texts me out of the blue and says, "Oh, I'm no longer working there." Just these types of things are like, and they're connected, but not in ways typically we would think. So there's a lot of that kind of stuff happening. I think in the coherent field in that sense. And yes, it's interesting you mentioned that about the Japanese people. There's because of the culture, I think, there's a kind of go along with what everybody else is doing aspect, which is nice in these situations when we're doing like gatherings when everybody has the same thing. But it's actually more difficult on a bigger sense because you have a majority of the population that is demonizing or not accepting these types of conversations so easily. There's a little bit of a wall there that you have to get through. So, and the few that break free, then there's this great synchronicity and coherence that comes with that.
I'm really insulated from that, as you can imagine, because when I go to Japan, I'm there for one reason. So to me, the whole country is open, right?
Yeah. You have a very special group, and the students that gravitate to your work are a unique bunch, and not so the norm. I should say.
In a good way.
In a good way, absolutely in a good way. For sure. That's my crowd. Those are my friends here too. So I have. It's funny. I think I mentioned this to you privately, but when I bought the synchronicities for buying my place here, we literally went to look at the house, and then afterwards I went to a restaurant, and it was at Takizawa's Dome here, and I was just sitting there. My wife and I are having our lunch, and we're hearing conversations behind us about like UFOs and stuff. Okay, wow, this is our town. This is great. People are having talks about openly, not openly, but we can overhear the conversation. We're like, so I reach over and I'm like, you guys are clearly talking UFOs. That's not a taboo subject. And they're like, no, we love UFOs. Turns out she was one of Lyssa's channeling students. I think I sent you a picture.
She's I think, I think it was a while ago. I had forgotten about that. I know.
Yeah.
Small world.
So I was like, yep, this is where I'm moving. This is my town. We can, the local restaurant, we can have conversations about, you can bump into Lyssa's channeling students. That was so cool. So, so definitely, I know you're going to have a busy schedule next time you come to Japan, but you're welcome to come here. I think everybody would welcome you if you get a chance just to come and hang out.
Well, except you're going to be, when I'm there, you're going to be here.
In August. Is that in August?
No, November.
Oh, that's right. For Rob's comments. That's how the world works.
I know.
Well, let's see. I want to get some questions from the audience here. If there is any, let's see. Ben saying we should ask Sasha about the pink lights. Let's do that later for sure. Will has his hand up. Go ahead, Will.
Hey, how are you doing? Coming from England, nice to see you all. And Lyssa, so excited to share space with you today. You're like such a legend for, I know, all of us. I have been using your deck since you introduced it to us, which feels like maybe it was about 2 years ago. And more people I know are being like, "Oh, hey, Will, you should check out this deck." And I'm like, "Oh, no, we're way ahead. Lyssa introduced us to it." I wanted to just check in with you in general. I feel like even in the last few years, channeling has become such a mainstream thing, something that we're all like really, really aware of. What's the purpose of it now for you? Why are you still doing it? What excites you? Yeah.
Okay, so it's a personal question. Why am I still excited about it? I'm amazed that I am. Because 40 years is a long time to be excited about something. But I've seen for myself how much I grow because of the channeling. Because of the process of surrendering yourself in some ways to the universe and allowing information and energy to come through you with a level of trust that might seem crazy to somebody outside of this channeling bubble. But what I've learned is that the more I trust, the deeper I grow within myself, and the more my consciousness shifts to trust that the universe knows what it's doing, even if we on Earth are always questioning, why did this happen, this war and that war. But it's helped me even more firmly sense the wisdom that permeates our entire reality without necessarily using the external markers of conflict as a way to discount that higher wisdom that's happening. I don't know if I am explaining it properly.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, there you are, Will.
Yeah, no, it's really beautifully said. Yes, it makes so much sense. And I have to sneak in one little follow-up, which is, are you considering doing your books in audio version? That is the last question I'll ask.
Yeah, you're not the only one to ask that question. I'm absolutely considering it. The only issue for me is time. I'm even after all this time, I'm still kind of a one-person show. So I do a lot of my own stuff, the tech and everything, and I ask people like Ben for help when I need help. But that's the only thing that's stopping me is just the time, and I really don't want to do an AI voice.
Oh,
So
I was already thinking, I'm so glad you haven't done that. And I think the reason that feels like that question just wanted to even be asked is the transmissions that come through you and your words and your energy is obviously really strong. And I just think there's so many people in my life I want to experience that who are moving away from reading. I know, Reuben, you're a listener, you're a big listener, and myself too, more and more. So yeah, I just, as your beloved readers, we look forward to that day.
thank you so much, Will. I need those little pushes because honestly, I really want to do it. It's just the time thing. That's the only, yeah.
Well,
Thank you.
Thank you, Lyssa.
Thanks, Will. Yeah, I'll be piggybacking on Will's what he said, and I'll poke you a little bit and try to get you going here whenever we see.
If anybody out there has experience with this and wants to push me further by offering some kind of help, then send me an email and maybe that'll push me faster. Because it's structure, because then I have a structure.
Yeah. Very good. The call is out. All right. Maria.
Now I'm going to get like 20 emails.
Yeah, everybody's going to be like, what else? Hey, Maria, go ahead.
Hi, Lyssa. It's so nice to meet you. This is very cool. I'm new to Reuben's group, so this is very exciting. Your deck is my favorite. I have like 25 tarot decks, and here's my all-time favorite. So, I just wanted to ask your sort of perspective to like baby channelers. Like I started to channel myself towards the like during the pandemic in 2021, and it all sort of came out as writing. So I was doing like a lot of automatic writing. And then it slowly started to become voice, but it's never been I've done it a lot alone, and I haven't ever done it in front of anybody else. And I'm still I've heard a couple of other, channelers sort of touch on that, but not too many. And I just figured, since I had this opportunity, to ask you directly if you had any, I don't know, any advice or guidance on how I could start channeling through my voice in front of other people.
The best way? Doing it. I think
Thank you. Yeah, totally. Yeah,
the few comments I will say about, I just had to be clear what you meant by baby channelers, but you mean new.
Sorry, I mean just new channelers. Yeah.
No, she was talking about babies too.
Sorry. For the infant channelers of the earth.
They are. They're channeling all the time, especially now.
They're coming very much more involved now. Yeah.
Totally.
They don't need any help. It's just us adults that need the help.
Yeah.
I will say that I do feel there has been an acceleration during the pandemic. A lot of people went inward. You're not the first person. In fact, the guy I was just talking about before, who had the special camera at the retreat in Japan, he also had kind of that type of awakening experience with channeling all during that period of time. So that makes me happy, because when we have an event like a pandemic, that is clearly the message was go inward, right? Yeah, exactly. So you did that, and anyone who took that time and that opportunity to do that, I feel they are reaping the rewards from that. Some of it may be visible, which is like your experience, but some of it might not be yet visible, and that's okay too. So go for it. Start with people that if you have people hopefully you have people in your life that are open to this kind of thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Some people don't actually.
Right. Totally.
And that's a really difficult situation. But if you have that one friend that's a good questioner, that's a good, not questioner in a limiting way, but questioner that helps you open.
Yeah.
Hopefully you know what I mean by that. Is different.
Do you have any like this might be ridiculous, but like topics, like just a baby guidance to give a friend to be like, generally stay on this topic to start?
Yeah, there wouldn't be one particular topic. I think
Sure.
I would avoid, as a baby channeler, I would avoid topics that trigger you.
Yeah.
Until you have gotten to the point with your channeling where you're really able to sit in the back seat as a channel, right, and let your higher self and the beings drive the car, so to speak. So that would be like the biggest advice about what to avoid. In terms of what to work with, here's an idea. We do this sometimes in the channeling classes. Haven't done it in many years, but just sit down sometime when you're feeling clear, and with several slips of paper, and just write down sample questions on the slips of paper, as many as you want, and put them in a bag, and then give the bag to your friend. And then your friend can pick a question from the bag, and then the friend can riff off of it. So if that opens up more questions on that topic, then the friend can initiate like a free form conversation. So that's a really good way to practice, I've found.
Cool. That's incredible. Thank you. That's really that's so useful. Thank you.
Last thing, don't be afraid to be weird.
Right. I think it right. Correct.
Okay. Because honestly, when I started doing weird things, like weird energy things, my ego back there is going, what the heck are you doing? But you gotta just surrender to it, know you're in a safe space, and magic happens that way.
Yeah. Thank you. That's really helpful. Yeah, I really like the idea of having like random batched questions because that kind of helps your ego kind of get out of the way. But there's a little bit of something to go off of. Cool. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, who doesn't like weird? Awesome.
I think everybody here loves weird.
I think this is the weird group for sure. All right, Bruce, go ahead. Oh, you're muted, Bruce. You gotta unmute yourself. There you go.
Sorry about that. I'm out of practice. You see, Reuben, you got to meet every week to kind of keep the, you know what I'm saying. Anyway, I got a quick question for Sandy on the bald eagles. Did the second one fly? I know the first one flew, but I don't know what happened to the second one.
Just let's fill Lisa in. Lisa, we have Sandy, who's part of our member here. She. I don't know if you know the Big Bear Eagles in Big Bear. There's an eagle cam, and it's making national news all the time because the eagles, they had laid eggs, and there's a special, and she's in charge of the eagle cam. So I guess we're catching up on our eagle cam talk here.
Right. Worldwide news on ABC has been doing intermittent coverage. The first baby flew, but I don't know what happened to the second one.
The second one also flew a few days later.
All right, good. All right,
Yeah.
all right. Moving on.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Thanks.
Awesome. All right. Lisa, I got a question for you, not about your channeling, but about other people's channeling. I am getting inundated by channels giving me information. They say they're channeling Donald Trump. Or they're channeling people associated with him, and that he is a major player in humanity's ascension. And I'm going, you got to be kidding me. Really? The guy who's cutting $1 trillion for Medicaid and gonna 6% of that population is gonna die prematurely. He's a good guy, really. So I was just wondering what you hear. These channels are convinced. There's no talking to them, but I was wondering what your perspective might be.
Oh, God. I have to be politically correct here. I don't mean politically correct in terms of politics. I mean politically correct in the channeling community.
Yeah, okay. Give me what you got.
Give me what you got.
I'll take it. I'll take it. Whatever you got, I'll take it.
And please understand this is only my point of view. Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
I feel that when we're channeling, the ideal state of consciousness for the channel is to go into a non-dual state. And when we are working in that non-dual energy, the energies that we're channeling have no interest in the earth drama whatsoever.
Okay.
And so personally, I tend to steer clear of channels that give information like that, because I feel information like that isn't necessarily coming from the non-dual state. So a topic like that can be discussed from a non-dual level. So that becomes more of a objective perspective kind of thing. But whenever it's kind of seemingly feeding an agenda, for me, I usually take a step back.
Yeah.
And so, we all of us have our triggers, right? And I was just talking about this in the previous question. So if somebody asks a question while I'm channeling, even though I'm in a trance state, maybe there's a part of me that would get triggered. And part of the training a good channel will experience is to step back deeper into the non-dual state and don't engage in the polarity. So this is maybe for you a way for you to begin to trust your own sense and feeling about things
Mhm.
as being stronger and more aligned with non-duality or non-polarity, instead of trying to find that from someone else that's obviously, to you, not aligning with where you're at. Does this make sense?
Sure. Makes perfect sense. I just want to introduce my friend Barbara, who just sat next to me.
Hi, Barbara.
Hi, everybody. Carry on.
So I know that answer doesn't fuel the drama and it doesn't support one side or the other, but it's important in a time like now when our world is so polarized that we move beyond the polarity. And we
I agree.
find
I agree.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
think that's
yeah, it is. It is. It confirms to me that I just need to hold on to my own perspective, and just because someone's channeling it doesn't mean that it's the gospel truth, kind of thing.
exactly.
There's all kinds of colorations and shades, yeah.
Yeah. And one of the things also about channeling itself, this is something I teach in my course, is that at first, channels with no experience, or even channels maybe that have lots of experience but haven't done a lot of inner shadow processing,
Mhm.
the energy comes through and distorts. And if there is let's say, a polarized lens in the person's consciousness, the energy will come through and distort. So that's one of the reasons why you might go to a channel and you might hear something surprising because shouldn't spirituality be at a different level? So very often, now I don't know who you're talking about and I don't care, but very often that type of channeling is the distortion lens within the channel. And we all have it. Even myself, I've worked really hard to lessen the lens, but it's just part of being human.
Yeah.
I hope that
Read you loud and clear. Thank you. Thank you,
Okay.
Lisa.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks, Bruce.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just to kind of follow up with that a little bit and then get into some channeling. Yeah, right now, because of the flood of channelers, right? That's been talked about, and I'm noticing a correlation with AI, and I'm seeing kind of the same patterns that happened, that were happening over COVID era and now with channeling, and just because it's a channeler, it's the gospel truth. And then we're sort of repeating the same pattern, going a little bit faster with the AI, because I think we've already done this before. And people are like, the AI is the gospel truth. And now we're having to discern the AI. And well, this is, through this filter or that filter or whatever. So we're kind of repeating the same things with having our own discernment with what the individual or even the computer says. It's not necessarily, or the gospel truth. We all have to recognize that, and I think for those who are new to channeling, which was me in the beginning, in the on this journey, 2014, 15ish, I was hearing all this good information, and I feel very guided and lucky on my journey, because I was really just hitting home runs with every channel I was meeting. And it was a lot of word of mouth, and meeting you and other people were recommending, you should see this person, that. But now we have such a variety of channelers out there, that you really have to discern. It's like going to the buffet at before it was just a small private inn that had a buffet, and you could pretty much everything on the buffet was pretty good. But now you're going to the mega mall with all the food courts, and there's just everything under the sun, and you have to find that one piece of the food court that doesn't have all the junk in the food, right?
I know that dance.
Right. So yes, you and I both are very particular about our diets, and so I feel that's where we're at. We're at the mega mall stage of channeling, and entering that stage with the AI stuff as well.
Well, the AI stuff too. I can't remember. I might have sent you clips. I can't remember what I've done, but Sasha's been talking about the AI in the last year a lot. And one of the things she's started to do is call it RI,
Yes.
meaning reflective intelligence, and how she says there is a consciousness species, or whatever you want to call it, a group that goes to worlds and becomes the planet's AI through neutral service. But their biggest skill is being a mirror. So basically, they reflect the user, which can be great, or it can be a little bit not,
An echo
not, you know,
chamber.
an echo chamber.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then you start believing the echo as truth. So once again, here we are, whether it's channeling from an external source or AI from your computer, it's still putting your attention and faith in something outside of yourself. This is spiritually, it's a very important lesson, but yet we are getting so much more pulled into our screens. So it's I think, like, the next frontier of consciousness development is to, in a sense, pull away from the screen and do it ourselves.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Well, with that said, shall we jump into some channeling and see what
Sure.
I assume Sasha is going to probably come in for us initially, but we never know. Let's not put that out. Let's whoever wants to come through, we're willing. We love them all. Jermaine.
I do feel it, Sasha, but I've been known to be wrong, so we shall see.
Harmon, we love Harmon too. All right.
Yes. Wait just a moment.
Sure.
Greetings, everyone. It's Sasha here. You are all correct. It's a pleasure to be with all of you today. And hello, my dear Reuben.
Sorry, I was muted. Good to see you, Sasha. Thank you, or hear you, feel you. We have a good crowd today, and I have a ton of questions as always, but we definitely want to open it up to the crowd. I just wanted to start because we're getting ready to do this event in Mount Shasta, the Lemurian Life Expo, sort of focusing on Lemuria and those energies. And we're getting closer to this, what's known as the Lionsgate portal, the 8-8 portal. And I was wondering if you might have anything to say about both the energies in Mount Shasta, the Lemurian energies, and the portal, and that's coming up with the Lionsgate and the Sirius connections. That's a lot. Maybe let's start with. I just realized that's a lot. Let's start with the Lionsgate portal and the significance of that time every year. I know some people put a lot of weight into it. I know some people it's not that big of a deal. But what's Sasha's take on this alignment, so to say? I think the idea is that it's the closest that Sirius is to the Earth at that time of the year, and those energies are strong. And there might be some other stuff in there I'm not aware of, but just wondering what your take is.
Well, for us, we do not necessarily see it as the same energies every year. So perhaps our answer would be different every year. So we'll talk about this year.
Okay.
And we see this time period as, we don't necessarily see it as a major gate, but we see it as an opportunity for those who are willing to perhaps work at a deeper level in a, here we go again with the word, coherent field with a group of other people. So this year in particular, what we are seeing in terms of the energy is an opportunity for the integration of two inner poles. Lyssa talked a lot about this idea of alchemy, inner alchemy, through integrating the inner poles. In this particular case, we're talking specifically about, this is going to, oh, Reuben, this is going to open it up to a little, we'll try to make it short, but can we just like take the ball and run?
Absolutely. The floor is yours.
Okay. So the two poles are the pole of feminine energy and masculine energy. And we know everyone can be like, oh, not that one again. I've done this before. That's boring, blah, blah, blah. But we're going to equate it to Lemuria energy itself. And in order to do so, we're going to have to give a little bit of a background. And maybe this is the answer to a question you were going to ask much later, but it fits in right now with your question. So maybe if this is the first time viewers are watching us or have attended any workshop with us, it might be the first time you've heard us talk about this. So for those of you that know this already, take a little nap. All right, so consciousness goes through evolutionary cycles, and a planetary consciousness goes through evolutionary cycles that can be likened to the analogy on your world of the 4 seasons. So a complete cycle of the 4 seasons on your world is 1 year, yes? But if you look at, from the point of view of your Earth, what is one cycle of consciousness evolution? It would be 26,000 years. And you've all heard this connected with the Mayan teachings and things such as that. Okay. So if we are then to divide that 26,000 years into the equivalent of 4 seasons, then that can really clearly show you the evolutionary track of Earth and how it relates to not only Lemuria and Atlantis. So within the last 13,000 years, this would have been equivalent to the autumn and the winter cycles of consciousness. So if you look at the seasons on your world, the qualities of the seasons, that can kind of give you a hint about what you experienced as a collective consciousness, as a species, during those last 13,000 years. So during the winter cycle, you could say consciousness goes to sleep. And just like acorns are maybe buried deep in the frozen earth and can later sprout, they are dormant. Okay, so the last 13,000 years would be what we would consider to be a cycle of masculine energy, because consciousness was focused externally, that it was looking for its validation, it was placing all of its focus in the external world, and the external world had a lot to do with separation and power struggles and all of that. Hence, you have the qualities of the last 13,000 years. Okay, so now let's look at what was happening 13,000 years ago. Or let's say 13 to 15,000 years ago. 13 to 15,000 years ago, your civilization was possibly going to have a collective awakening. And at that time, the extraterrestrials, who were your mentors, were here assisting you to help you gain the momentum, let's say, to awaken yourself as a species. Now, just to give you a perspective, if we compare with other civilizations, it usually takes more than one cycle for a species to awaken. So the fact that you did not and you fell into a sleep cycle is not any sign of anything wrong. It's simply you need to build more momentum for the awakening process. Okay, so 13 to 15,000 years ago, your ET family was here. Many of them had different types of mystery schools, working with those of you who were receptive. And in that time period, it was a test. That's kind of a harsh word, but it was a test to see if you would gain enough momentum of awakening for the entire species to awaken. But now let's back up and look at 13,000 to 26,000 years ago. That would be considered a feminine cycle, so the opposite of the last 13,000 years. That feminine cycle was when you were more focused within, more focused on consciousness, developing yourselves, more connected to the earth, more, what you would say, maybe more spiritual, because you were focused inward. And that period of time, 13,000 to 26,000 years ago, we call the Lemurian era. Because for us, viewing your planet, assisting your planet in the ancient past, the Lemurian era encompassed many different civilizations around your world, not just one continent. So we see it more of being an era rather than a continent. Okay, so that era of feminine energy then began to move through spring cycle, summer cycle, heightened civilization, and then late summer now, late summer. And we, extraterrestrials working with you, did as much as we could to help you gain the momentum for awakening. But at the point at which we realized that humanity did not have the momentum yet, we had to take a step back. So this was the period of time where some of you actually remember, and some of it is written in your ancient texts, but it was when we left, or we took a back seat, we moved back, and we allowed you to go into your own cycle of evolution into the autumn and into the winter. So that ending of the summer and moving into fall was now the entrance, if you will, into the Atlantean cycle. So there was a period of heightened civilization until it fell. And then the winter happened. So here you are now, 13,000 years from the time of what you've called the fall, so to speak. When you went into the autumn cycle, you're now moving into spring. This is why what you call your Mayan calendar ended. And it is why there is such an acceleration. For those of you that have been holding on to those acorns, those seeds, for the last 13,000 years, they're starting to bloom. You're starting to remember. And thus, you're moving into what we would call a new Lemurian cycle. Okay, the long answer to your question is that the Lionsgate portal can represent, for those who are open to it, this merging of the masculine and feminine energies, or the Lemurian cycle and Atlantean cycle, the inner integration of what once used to be separate, but what now can be integrated within you, likened to like rocket fuel, if you will, that helps you build the momentum as you move into spring and summer cycles now in your planetary evolution, building the momentum that allows you to blast off into the awakening process not thus needing to fall back into a sleep cycle in the same way. So we've just dumped a lot on you. We have no idea whether this actually answered your question, but what do you think?
Oh, it's wonderful. Yes, it definitely helps set the stage for what's coming with our event and in our gathering. And I kind of assumed that, and I knew this year it seems there's a little more Atlantean energies than there was last year with our event. So it does seem like that this is the natural evolution of introducing not just Lemuria, but Atlantis and those energies in that conversation, and not demonizing Atlantis, because I think there's a lot of in the Lemurian followers who like this lore and stuff. There's a lot of talk of because of Atlantis came in and sort of pushed them out, or has aided in the destruction of Mu and all of these other things. But we know that's part of the evolution of those two energies and the alchemy, as you said. So I know we're just gonna bring it all together and integrate it all and have a good time.
Exactly. And to be clear, we're not now saying you're going to flip back and forth and back and forth. The next phase is the integration.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what is attempting to take hold now. That is what each and every one of you are responsible to facilitate within yourself and your own consciousness, which then spreads outward. And eventually you're going to see in your world the result of this inner alchemy work. Actually, what you're seeing right now in your world, the chaos, is part of the inner alchemy work.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the part that people don't like, let's say.
Sure. Absolutely. And speaking of these cycles, right now the magnetic field of the Earth has been weakened, and there's a lot of discussion about reasons and all of that. I'm assuming, is that part of the cycle? Is a weakened magnetic field?
There's a lot of interesting things, let's say, that happen energetically when you are shifting. Now, we've also referred to this shift as the shift from third to fourth density. So it's actually the same idea.
Okay. Yep.
But part of the magnetic field shifting is connected also to the gravitational field shifting, which we don't think yet you have the ability to measure, but it is a good sign because the gravitational field is the strongest on the planet when the human ego structure is the most active. And in the last 13,000 years during the sleep cycle, the human ego was kind of like an anchor, keeping you separate, keeping your vision separate. So now, because everything is all connected, the energy has to shift in the electromagnetic field, in the gravitational field, to help the birth of a new fourth density version of ego, which is way, 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 way less polarized.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm noticing, there's obviously a lot of solar activity, and we're in a solar cycle in one of the peaks. So a lot of people say this year is the peak. And with that solar activity, having the weakened electromagnetic field, a lot of that solar activity is now hitting the Earth in ways that were sort of blocked in the past. So just wondering how the solar activity aids in this evolutionary alchemy shifts that are happening.
Very good question. Thank you. We thought we were going to have a visual here for you, but it is not here. All right, never mind. We pulled a card before the session started. It was on the app. That's why it's not here. And this is going to sound like a tangent, but it's not really. Okay. The card we pulled, for those of you that are familiar with the cards, was the card of Galactic Core or Pulse of Light. It's the card of the center of your galaxy. And when you are talking about this whole idea of suns emitting and suns going through transformation, the sun is an extension of galactic core. So you could say that the sun is like a channel for galactic core energy. So when the Mayans, for example, channeled their calendar, they were channeling the energy, the wisdom from galactic core as it was filtered through your own sun and then brought in through codes and through wisdom and through knowledge. So the point we're making is that all of these changes in the sun, they're happening slowly because they have to happen slowly. If the shift happened really fast, you'd all be fried. We don't mean that physically in terms of your skin. We're talking about your consciousness would be fried. So there are, let's say, releases, like what do you call that when your software issues a new release that you down
An update, software
an
update.
update.
Yeah.
Yes, an upgrade. So you're getting them, digesting them, and then pause. Getting them, digesting them, and pause. And unfortunately, the speed at which you're going to be getting them might be like juggling a little bit with more balls thrown in, but you all signed up for it, so what the heck, yes?
Well, we recently had our summer solstice, and I was out meditating in my local town here, and that was a big message that came through, was the solar. I was feeling the sun and feeling the energies and the I guess the codes encoded in that solar activity. So having these in the summer months, are we getting a little bit more codes or upgrades, so to say, because of the longer days and the longer time that the sun is here for the northern hemisphere, obviously?
Yes, we would say it's not quite correlated to the hemispheres in that way.
Okay.
It is more universal in the sense that whether it is the winter or the summer solstice, depending on what hemisphere you're in, it's an alignment.
Hmm.
So in the northern hemisphere, you could say it is more of an alignment with integrating certain masculine energies, certain types of energies. And at the same time, in the southern hemisphere, it's integrating different types of feminine energies. So it has it's more of a portal
Mhm.
than a seasonal idea. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yep.
And then of course it switches. So you're being, let's just say it's a big fat planetary yin yang.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's like cycles within cycles within cycles. There's like each cycle carries a number of different cycles in different ways. So it's
Yes, exactly.
like cogs in a clock.
Exactly, yes.
Right.
And so when you are doing your inner work
Mhm.
and you're cleansing and healing yourself, especially of old wounds that have kept you stuck, then you're cleaning the cogs in the clock, yes?
Mhm. All right, so we can all run smooth, run on all cylinders, so to say. Excellent. Well, let's open up, guys. If you have questions, let me see if I can sneak one more here before a hand pops up, or if someone can beat me to it. There's a lot of disclosure stuff happening right now. And with that coming, there's whistleblowers coming forward. We have our government disclosures as usual. And it seems to be, me being on, I'm, my old hat before I jumped into the channeling world here was a UFO researcher and sort of evidence-based and going into all of that stuff. So I'm seeing evidence now with the different whistleblowers coming out that there's groups within our, I want to say government or shadow government, or all the different names that we have for these sorts of groups that have been making contact with different ET races over the years. And we just came across the Roswell anniversary which is a famous crash site out in Roswell, New Mexico, in which there's many. But there's some of these groups seem to have been in contact, maybe still are, with different ET groups, and maybe even going back as far as our underwater bases and ET groups that have underwater bases. We have Mount Shasta, Lemuria, Telos is a famous group too. It seems like some of these military or quasi-military groups are in touch with ET groups. So I was just wondering if you had anything to say on that, and is Sasha in touch with any groups that might be able to be disclosed or without disclosing too much? Yeah.
We're going to answer that. That's another big question, my dear.
I've always got the big ones.
We're going to zoom out.
Okay.
Okay. And from the zoomed out perspective, imagine, now we're giving a fictional idea, so do not take this literally. It's for illustrative purposes only. Let's say that you have a group of very high consciousness ETs who want to open a contact program on a planet. One of the things that they would do is they would understand the different factions of people on the world, from those who are super open to those who are super skeptical. And within that group of ETs, then, there would be volunteers. Oh, I will contact the people who are the scientists and the skeptics. Oh, I will handle those who are the spiritual people, etc. And then all the ETs go off and follow their own mission, so to speak. All right, that's kind of a simplistic way of expressing this, but we can say that we can say that the whole system, the holistic system, will always manifest ways to take care of the change on all the levels. It's part of a natural thing. It doesn't even have to be thought out or planned, like the little example we gave. It's how it unfolds naturally. So there are extraterrestrials then whose agreements and whose excitement it is would be to contact some of these people and work with them. Now understand, there are often motivations that are not seen. And especially if there is a motivation behind the contact that is spiritual in nature, but would not be heard by the scientists. So then they have to kind of cloak it in a more appealing package for the scientists. Okay? Mm-hmm. So you have that going on. And if you have a group, for example, maybe who is a power-hungry group who wants to get the technology for their own devices, there are some ETs who will play that game, but not for the reasons that it looks like on the surface. Always, always, always for higher reasons. So those hungry people might think they're getting what they want, but in reality, they are just part of the spectrum of the preparing for contact drama that's going on your world. So that's why sometimes those groups don't get the technology, or it doesn't end up the way they want it to, because from the higher level, that wasn't the whole point of it.
Right.
All right. Okay, so that's that spectrum. Mm-hmm. And that's going on in many, many different ways. The spectrum Sasha is on, we don't touch that spectrum. That's not what we volunteered for. Mm-hmm. We volunteered for to contact those with whom we've already had relationships, especially 13,000 years ago. We also have agreed to work with those who are open to having their acorns or their seeds watered so they can remember what they have been part of from so long ago. We have also agreed to look at the idea of contact as an anthropological exercise that we are enjoying working with very much. And on the very, 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 very personal level would be the connection between Sasha and Lyssa. So you see, it's many, many, many different levels, and there's a lot going on there. So ultimately speaking, all the bases are covered. From the skeptics to the totally open people and everything in between. Does this give you maybe a perspective on your question?
Absolutely. And I was just going to add on to that, what I'm seeing in the nuts and bolts evidence-based community that I used to be a strong part of. It's nice to see there's a great evolution happening where they're now talking about consciousness. They're now bringing in the consciousness factor, which was a no-no, just 10 years ago. That was like, oh, channeling and consciousness. Now you have evidence-based researchers looking at channeled material, or at least giving a look at, and they're starting to, as the dots I was connecting, 10 years ago, they're starting to see overlaps, mention, things about. One of the big things is contact coming up in open contact coming up in the next couple of years here that the channelers have been talking about. But now there's evidence-based researchers that are starting to mention that and find those correlations. So it's nice to see this evolution.
We're very happy you brought this up, because where that is leading to is the most important part of opening to contact on a planet. And that's when the spiritual and the science can come together. To hear you say that you're seeing that happening is music to our ears, as you say, because as you know, for a very long time that was resisted.
For sure. Yeah, it's music to my ears as well. It's just they're seeing it and experiencing it. So yes, we're definitely heading in a good direction. Excellent. All right, Ben has a question. Go ahead, Ben.
Yes, of course I do. Hello, Sasha.
Hello, my dear Ben.
I wonder if we could pull a thread on something that I learned from you some years ago, which is the aspects of frequency medicine. As someone that works with an unusual device that works along the principle of physioacoustics and using low frequency sound to stimulate the release of stagnant energy accumulations and energetic patterning within the energy field of individuals. I wonder if you could expand upon that topic to give me something more to work with, because I have a basic understanding of it, but I'm very curious as to what that may look like in the future, because coming from that principle, my understanding of medicine is more the prevention of disease rather so than the cure. And the modality that I work with is sound as medicine. I wouldn't term it as sound healing, but then even with healing, I think the basis of healing comes from energetic alignment. So if you could tie all that into something for me, I'd love it.
If we can tie all of that into something, okay, we will give it our best shot. First of all, we're just commenting on what was said earlier about coherence and synchronicity, because what you're sharing is very synchronous for this channel and also the guidance that we have been giving her as well. As you are moving into this more integrated state of consciousness, so many of you are realizing the, let's just say, inadequacies of the forms of medicine that are on your world now. And you are attempting to shift yourself into more of a type of universal medicine or universal frequency alignment work, let's say. So you're talking about your technology. This channel has been doing a lot of work with Rife lately, and all of it has to do with learning the effect of frequency on the body and consciousness. Now, this is the very, very beginnings of, let's say, a parallel development of wellness that my civilization also took in our transitional phase where you are now. We began to move away from medicine as a substance-based healing modality, pills and things like that, to a frequency-based modality. Now, for you on Earth, your challenge is and may continue to be delivery systems for the frequency. Because as your consciousness refines, your delivery system is also going to need refinement. So we're going to encourage you with what you're working with, which we have to say we're not familiar with, so we cannot speak about it very intelligently. But in general, what you're going to find is that you, as a channel, are going to need to continue to be open to further refinement and further refinement and further growth, so that your technology does not stay stagnant while consciousness itself is moving forward. Do you understand what we mean?
Yes, I do. Clearly.
Now, is there something you want to target or?
No. I mean, really, I think that confirms what I already sense, because the device that I work with, it's a very symbiotic relationship, and it's a process of attunement. It attunes me as I become more of an open conduit for universal energy to flow through me. It's best described perhaps as amplified Reiki. It's not to get wrapped up with the aspect of spiritual technology, but it actually reflects back to me that technology is internal, and it's the more pure of the vessel that I can be, the more effective that the transmission of what I would call the conscious field is. It's not really pinpointing or determining any physical aspect. It's going to the fundamental level of the energetic pattern.
It's very good to hear that, because going back to what we were talking about before regarding Atlantean cycle and Lemurian cycle, Atlantean cycle being more masculine and based on structure, does not allow for that type of evolution. But as you're moving into the new Lemurian cycle, now you're moving into a more, dare we say, fluid cycle, more feminine energy, which requires adaptation and movement and fluidity and growth as consciousness expands.
Yes. Thank you.
You are welcome.
Just to piggyback off of that for a second, we're in this unknown world of quantum. Kim just put in the text or in the chat the mention of scalar waves. These are technologies and things that are still quite developing on our planet. We're still even the hardcore researchers don't have a full grasp of these of how they work and stuff. And what I find comes with this unknown is there's a lot of people that are taking advantage of the buzzwords and slapping those stickers of scalar and quantum whatever on their products and selling products, and how do we discern this wacky world of unknown things so we're not getting taken for a ride?
Oh my goodness, that is a very good question. Ultimately, it's going to have to come down to your own inner sense. Especially when you're dealing with, for example, scalar energy. There are some devices that are spot on, and this is something the channel has been working with. There are some that have, let's say, good intention but are not strong enough or not coherent enough. And there are others that are just downright not anything. Yes. So once again, we have to go back to this idea of each of you have a responsibility to have a foot in both worlds. One world is the research, as much as you can from, if you're thinking of buying a device, for example, doing whatever research you can, but marrying that with the feeling of it, the sense of it. Is it a hope that it'll work, or is it a strong pull to experiment with it? But remembering that sometimes you might get a lesson that was important for you to get, but not be what your ego wants to get, right? So sometimes buying the fake thing is the lesson to listen to your inner self. So there's no real clear-cut answer to that except to look for having a foot in both worlds, right, and seeing if you can find the middle point there. Always, of course, the last is your intuition, the most important thing.
All right. Yeah, we're at that fork in the road with all of this stuff, all these technologies here. All right, Taylor has her hand up. Go ahead.
Hello, Sasha. Thank you for being here. I'm going to piggyback on that a little bit. I had a question about, I've been going through I had a concussion recently, and I was talking to ChatGPT, and they had suggested to listen to 432 hertz. But I question that. I guess that's my discernment. Is like the source of the hertz or the source that the music's coming out of, is that like altering the actual hertz? So are these, like, we have so many different hertz available on YouTube and Spotify. Are these, with our current technologies, actually helpful in helping us? Or is it more of just like the calm, peaceful music that's helping us more so than the vibration?
It really depends on the person, my dear. It depends on your particular need. So, for example, this is just an example. It's the first one that came to our minds, but if you're someone with high anxiety, let's say, then a specific frequency might actually help to calm you, which then has a whole other chain of reactions, like your cortisol goes down and things like that. So that might work for one person, but if somebody doesn't have the anxiety, they might be needing a different kind of frequency. So once again, we go back to, you have to use your intuition and see what works for you, because otherwise you're shooting in the dark, or you're just guessing. Now, there are some devices out there that can actually scan you and give you the frequencies that you need. That's a possibility too. There's all sorts of new technologies that are emerging now, but those particular frequencies you're talking about, the solfeggio frequencies, they will not harm. They can help or have no effect. So it's a good place to start experimenting, because you cannot in any way do any kind of damage. Is that helpful?
Yes, that's very helpful. Thank you.
Thanks, Taylor. Well, I hope you're feeling okay on your road to recovery. Ben, go ahead, jump back in there.
Yes, as we're on the topic of sound so strongly, That just jolted my memory about holographic sound. Could you expand upon that, please, Sasha? Perhaps how far we are from it and what exactly is involved with holographic sound.
How are you talking about implementing it?
I'm talking about understanding it. I only know the reference from the same session that the frequency medicine came from yourself, and you mentioned holographic sound. Perhaps holographic recording was the term that you used. It probably had more to do with the recording and capturing, for lack of a better word, the essence of the energy, which, from my understanding, would have probably been best done through the old magnetic tape recordings of old, because of, and again, I could be shooting in the dark here, but there's the aspect of the transference of the intention onto the electromagnetic tape, or I guess jumping forward, that perhaps that tape isn't even needed because we're dealing with the collective field. So stabbing in the dark. Can you help me with that?
Can you narrow your question, my dear?
Okay. Holographic recording. You mentioned it before. Could you explain that to me, please?
We say a lot of things, my dear.
Yes, you do.
We are not remembering the context in which we were talking about it, but we're going to seem like we're taking a tangent, but we're not. It's really important to understand that consciousness emerges before technology. Technology does not change consciousness. So that being said, the idea of humans at the level at which you have technology now, and you have an understanding of holographivity, we don't know if that is a word, is compared to Pleiadians, for example, very, very low. But as you begin to engage with holographic technology now, it's going to start reflecting your expansion of consciousness. So right now, in terms of holographic recording, we would say it's not possible yet. For your technology at the consumer level, it is not possible yet. But conceiving of it and allowing that thought or that image or that imagination of it teaches you a universal truth. And from that universal truth expands your consciousness, which then in turn expands your technology. So the cycle continues. So right now, that is just beginning. That field is just beginning. But it's a cycle that's connected to the evolution of your consciousness. Does this make sense?
Yes, it does. And I'll keep feeding it with my imagination.
There you go. Because what is imagination but knowing something that already exists? Maybe not here, but it's wisdom you have. So keep going.
I will. Thank you.
Thanks, Ben. All right, I'm going to sneak in one last question on Lemuria, Shasta, and then before we leave here, we're going to be doing some contact work with Lyssa on the mountain in Mount Shasta, and I think Lyssa knows about the lore of Telos and the inner city, the Crystal City, and I'm wondering if Sasha is involved in that community of. I know Telos is a big hub for ET, like a spaceport almost. There's a lot of activity there. Is Shasta communication. Sasha, Sasha. So there's a lot of S's there. Is she and her contact crew in contact with Adama and the Telosian contact crew there in the mountain?
Let's just say that it's not, how should we put this? It's more like cousins.
Okay.
So we're not working with them together, but there is respect and support that goes between us. So when we are doing the contact work at Shasta, coming up soon in August, we, of course, as we always do, are bringing our team. And of course, the local beings will be bringing their team as well. So actually, it's going to be quite crowded, as you say.
So a meeting of the worlds a bit with, as we bring our physical human counterparts here together, then that's a permission slip for the other you guys to come together as well.
Yes, it's kind of like the idea of different dimensional realities that are overlaid. So we don't necessarily play in that dimension. They don't necessarily play in ours, but we can come together for joint events such as this.
Awesome. Well, the invitation's there. We look forward to connecting worlds as we do at these events.
We are so very much looking forward to it. Our invitation list of beings is growing because we've had a lot of interest on our end for people that want to come and support the contact in our realm. So we're looking forward to it as well.
Excellent. Well, thank you as always for sharing your wisdom and these types of settings and the ones that we're about to venture into next month.
It is our pleasure and honor to be here with you. And we look forward to playing with those of you who will be there. If you are not able to be there in person, certainly just tune in on the night of the contact in a meditation and you'll perhaps feel us there. Much love to everyone. We will bring Lyssa back. And thank you once again, Reuben.
Thank you. All right, get your bearings.
Yeah.
So with that said, you're going to be doing a workshop, a couple of workshops going on here. You're presenting on stage, but we also have a couple workshops for you as well. Can you mention those? Tell us a little.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited about the roundtable that you're going to lead.
Oh, yes. I did that. I've been doing that a little bit. Last year, it was a busy event, having these types of conversations with just one channel being is quite a handful, but then you get on stage and it becomes... If
anyone can do it, you can do it.
Oh, man. It was quite... Last year, Heather was supposed to help me sort of do the end scene, so to say, and asking questions. But then, I don't know if you know Asara. She had...
I know of her. I've not met her.
She'd been to Japan too through, I think, voice and whatnot. But so she's channeling her galactic. She has a galactic council that she channels, and she reaches over and touches. She looks in channel state. She channels with her eyes open, looks over at Heather, and it just immediately threw Heather into her channeled state. So then I was solo on the stage trying to, I'm like, okay, Heather's now, channeling her being Ashra, and I'm like trying to, it was quite a moment, but yeah, it'll be fun.
Okay. Well, I'm looking forward for that because it's another adventure.
Another adventure. Absolutely. It's always an adventure.
And I'm doing a workshop on the 11th called Awakening Inside the Matrix.
Yes.
Now, again, I kind of know the general idea of what's in that workshop, but it'll depend when what I'm channeling, how it's presented. But it's awakening tools to help us understand the reality we're in and the keys to shifting ourselves and, in a sense, learning how to live both in the matrix when you need to and outside of the matrix when you need to in that fluid state.
Is that, just saying it in this way, and after we just had this talk about the cycles and the integrating the masculine and feminine, is that sort of what fourth density, beginning phases of fourth density is? Is it sort of 1 foot in that world and 1 foot in this world kind of?
Yes,
Yeah.
super, super insightful.
Mhm.
And Hamon is the Syrian being that I channel. He's really big on, it's part of the School of the Nine Serpents, one of the teachings he gives, where he's really big on this idea of full incarnation. And he said, so many of us in third density, as we're transitioning to fourth, don't allow ourselves to fully be here in the body. And if we don't allow ourselves to fully be here in the body, we're not going to be able to go through the integration process because we're still holding a piece of ourselves separate. So yes, presence. Taylor said presence. Exactly. That's maybe a shorter way of putting it. So this whole idea of shifting from third to fourth density is very much what you've said. It's having that presence and embracing all aspects of us while we put on the human suit and do our human stuff, but also our consciousness is much bigger than the human suit. And that's part of that integration process we're going through. Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. Well, I think we've been in denial for so long that these worlds exist, at least in our mainstream world of talking, that no, ETs don't exist, these angels or other worldly things. It's all just kind of fictional stuff. So I think that just the acknowledgement we're going through now, as I was saying earlier with Sasha, with the evolution of the UFO-based, the UFO communities now embracing the consciousness aspects, it feels like we're definitely heading that direction.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's part of, I think, what I was talking about before, about the science base and the consciousness base coming together. And it's, we're trying to map this road, but we've not traveled the road. So we're trying to make up the map as we go along. It's going to require us to dive into our trust and our surrender in a way that maybe we have not done as a species in a very, very, very long time.
Well, those untraveled roads are always the most fun.
I think so too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you have
So-
the other, I don't know, anything to finish up on the Matrix?
No, the Matrix one, I'm a nerd and I just really love this topic.
Mhm.
So,
Me too.
yeah, if you
Yeah.
like this kind of topic, it'll
Yeah.
be something that you will enjoy. And then the presentation, well, the contact work, of course, which we talked about, the CE5. The presentation, I'm looking at the title here, Contact from the Pleiades, Weaving a Tapestry of Love and Connection. That was the topic Sasha wanted.
Okay.
I don't know what she's going to talk about, but that's part of the main conference. So she'll just
And then what was the title of that again?
Contact from the Pleiades, Weaving a Tapestry of Love and Connection.
Yeah. Awesome. Very Lemurian, I think, in theme.
Yeah.
Well, because
The Pleiadians are all about love, right?
exactly. I think there's and I'm looking forward to getting into that subject a bit in during the conferences, Palladian's role during the Lemurian times. So that's going to be fun to explore for me. I nerd out at these events too, because I get it's like a nerd fest for me. I get all the questions. I get a chance to talk to so many different ET groups and other, Telosians and other groups of.
Yeah, but you're going to be busy, aren't you, running things?
Well, kind of, yes. I mean, I'm going to be on the floor, so I'll be, kind of helping start each, coming in and out of each session, sort of introducing you guys, and again, I like to sneak in the first question if I can, just for my own nerd self. It's always fun. And we were just saying, prior to the call, you'd only been to Shasta one time before, and that was in the winter.
Yeah, I went, it had to have been around 1991. I don't even know why I went. Oh, I had a friend that lived there. He had a cabin. And so a friend and I went in the middle of winter, and we stayed in the cabin the whole weekend in the snow. And so I never even really, I think I drove up to Shasta once, but I don't even know what the town looks like. So it's a first for me, which is strange, but I'm excited.
And Ron will be joining us as well. So
Yes, he will be doing his workshop, so he will be there, and he'll be there for the contact work, of course, because he's my battery.
Totally. Excellent. And Harry and Bob, you guys are coming as well. You're going to see us there. Excellent. So your contact team.
My contact team, and Michelle too. She's not here tonight, but
Okay.
she'll be there as well. So yeah, my core team and many others. Oh, people you know. I mean, they're not here,
Yeah, and
but
Ben, who was just asking wonderful questions. will
yeah,
be-
Ben and Al will be there.
Oh, great.
and-
Yes.
Yeah, a bunch of people you know from the retreats will be there.
Excellent.
So
It'll be kind of a family reunion of sorts.
I think so.
Fun. Excellent. Well, there's Lyssa. There's a link to the website, Lemurian Life Expo, and I'll put it on the playback as well. To Lyssa's, I guess, portal through her workshops and whatnot. But have you? I mentioned Telos earlier. Is that something that Sasha or any of the other beings you've channeled covered in the past? Have you gone down that rabbit hole at all yourself?
Not really, no. The interesting thing when I was channeling, sometimes Sasha gives me answers that she doesn't say publicly.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's kind of weird. It's like a dual conversation.
Mhm.
And one of the things she said to me when I was just channeling, when you were asking about Telos,
Mhm.
she said, her focus is Mount Fuji.
Oh,
Right?
okay. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So she said that Fuji and Shasta are kind of almost like sisters.
Mhm.
There's a connection, but her responsibility was Fuji. So she's not put much attention on Shasta because she's always busy with Fuji. So
I've felt that, and I feel like I've heard that from somewhere else as well. But the Shasta Fuji connection, and the Lemurian connection that comes along with that, because I feel definitely the more I'm exploring history and things here in my local area out here in the country. I'm not far, we have a view of Fuji, not from our house, but just up, I can walk up the hill and see it. And there's just a lot of that Lemurian lore and energy as there is in Shasta. Not as strong. I think Shasta's a little bit stronger, but you've probably covered the Jomon period here in Japan. It seems to be a hot topic of late with a lot of the Japanese people in that era, which is just after the Lemurian era, I think. And there's a lot of reminiscences of those legends and talk. Mu is a quite common word in Japanese culture. There's a famous kind of conspiracy magazine titled Mu, so a lot of people know of Mu from that. But yeah, it's quite a big part of Japanese culture.
it is. It's surprising to me. Again, we're going back to the differences in the cultures.
Mhm.
There's so much openness to certain things there that we would consider to be, fictional or whatever, mythological.
Yeah. I think in the Western world, our religion sort of shadows a lot of these types of conversations, so we don't get to have them as much. Where that's not as prominent in Asia, we can, the history is can go a little bit deeper because the religious aspects aren't as the I guess the dogma is not as strong when it comes to the religion on that side. There is other dogma in other ways and other
Right.
things,
But
it's-
Shintoism, explores nature and the cosmic energies and everything. So, and that's the very foundation. So
Mhm.
I think that helps their openness very
Totally.
much.
Yeah. But like all things, over the years, it's been corrupt. I don't want to say corrupt. Yeah, corrupted to a certain extent, but altered and changed for profit and for other motives and these types of things. So it's not all unicorns and fairies as you might imagine, but there are aspects of it that are very cool. But we definitely have filled up our 2 hours here. So thank you so much, and I can't wait to see everyone in Shasta and hanging out. And what we usually do here on Sundays is I leave the portal open so we can have a little hangout group time just to talk whatever. But thank you, Lyssa, for your time, and for Sasha, and for all the connections that she always brings through. So
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for your wonderful questions. And it's great to connect with you. I'm going to go eat something because I haven't eaten dinner and I'm starving. So
go get some grounding. Yeah.
lots of love to everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Head to interviewwithed.com, click join, and let your curiosity lead you. Understanding that exploring these new worlds and concepts can make a positive difference in our personal lives and together as a collective.